Hey, very good morning and good evening, everyone. Welcome back. Our last session, we were discussing about how do we, connect to, or maybe some commands we talked about first. What are those commands we talked about is a VI editor. In VI editor, we talked about how do we, so open file and edit the file and you save the file. So this option is the most important option is what I mentioned. And like as I told, so there's another editor which will come into picture later, by the way, which is called as SCD editor. We'll talk about that when we talk about automation and scripting. Okay, we need to edit the files automatically because VI is an interactive editor. That means you have to just give the input from your side, then only it is gonna work, by the way. Right. So after that, we talked about the other commands, by the way, so which is a curl command, so which is going to help us in a curl command, which is actually going to be helping us in browsing and as well as downloading. Okay, so then after that, tar command and unzip commands to extract the files is what we have seen. And the lastly, we have seen the concept called as pipes, by the way. So the pipe concept is like you can take the first command output and send as an input to the another command, by the way. So that is where the pipes will come into picture. All right. So, and inside that we have seen a command which will help us for the commands which doesn't take the input from a pipe. So exarcs can help us in dealing with that. So until here we have seen in last session, and post that we went with Amazon. Okay. So in Amazon, we are going to have a regions, and each region is going to have multiple agents, by the way. Now we have to pick up a region. Company will pick up the regions based on the business that they are holding. If the company, if the company is having multi-region business, they'll go with the multi-region applications as well. Okay. And so that's how it is going to be. But if your company's business is related to a single region, by the way, so then you maybe a single region application. So it depends, by the way. So multi-region, honestly talking, I did not work so far with the multi-region business applications, by the way. Okay, it's always been a single region most of the time. And yeah, so we'll use alternate regions for other purposes like backups and all, just in case that one region goes down. And AWS history tells that, AWS incidents, or AWS incident history is there. AWS incident history. So there is a web page also. They even post event summaries. So in any of these particular events, if you see in, okay, so you will not see any, okay, so any incident that happened, the whole region went down. Okay, so only one or two services impacted to a percentage only. Okay, not like every customer got impacted even in that particular region. Okay, or even in that particular service. Okay, so that is where, we can not, okay, so we can still rely on one region in many reasons that we go with other region. So just in case that one region goes down, but the worst case, by the way, so for them, whether they goes down or not, it does not matter. We should have a backup, by the way. So that's where backup is, um, sometimes we'll put it to other regions. That's okay, but that's fine. So coming back, by the way, so we were discussing about region, and the region will be chosen on two reasons we talked about, right? So the first reason is a latency. Okay, we'll try to make the application very much near to the customers, major customer base, so that you will get the faster response. And the second one is compliance. Okay, government compliances and all will come into picture. So these reasons also, like, Amazon has to come up with multiple regions serving their customers, by the way. And each and every region will have a minimum 2 agents. That means 2 data centers. One data center, they won't come in. They don't start a region. Minimum 2 data centers, they will be starting. And our choice is, okay, North Virginia. So we are going to choose North Virginia for the training, by the way. So here I'm choosing the first region of Amazon is North Virginia, and we're going to use the same one. So why the reason is basically is simple. The, image which I'm offering for creating the server is available, okay, is hosted in this region. So so this image is, is going to help us in a couple of ways, by the way. So why this image in the very first place? The image reason is very simple, by the way. So for us to enable the things or to have a contract between you and me much faster. Okay. The solutioning for your problem is going to be a bit faster if you go with this particular image. So that means if you have any issues, by the way, you always come up, you will land up in two places. One is a Zoom session where you try to share the screen, or else you can also do it in async mode that, so we'll be creating some GitHub discussions and all. Okay. When we create a GitHub discussions, so what you can do is you'll post a question. Okay, so you'll post a question, and that particular question will be we will try to answer, by the way. And so in order to do that, so if you see this one example, by the way, so one person has posted a screenshot. So now from this particular screenshot, so they're posting an error. Now if I want to solve this particular problem, now what I have to do, I have to ask them what is, I mean ultimately, like, so they have to share their credentials, by the way, but we don't do that. So in this particular image, so they share this particular screenshot. So here is an IP address also coming into picture. I'll simply pick up this particular IP address and I'll try to connect to this machine, and I'll try to execute that particular command. And I will come to know that, what is the mistake they are doing. And we'll try to solve this particular problem in a much faster way. So that's a simple idea behind this particular image. And additionally, it is going to come up with certain customization in a way, or in some additional customization will come into picture, which is going to help you in empowering yourself in certain things, by the way. For an example, you want to install some software. For an example, Ansible is a software. I want to install the software. I know the commands. Maybe if I type the commands, it may take some 2-3 minutes of time. Okay. Or else you take a software like Jenkins. Now you go with the Jenkins and install Jenkins. Maybe for you, it takes 10 minutes of the time. You know the steps. Maybe you're doing it again and again. So these are all, installation automations is available in that particular servers, by the way. So which will help you really, is going to make the things bit faster. So it will help you in saving a lot of time when you do the iterations, by the way, because see, one time you will not do the things. Okay. One time you will not understand the things. You have to create it. Okay, you have to destroy the things. Again, you start it, destroy the things. Again, you start it. Maybe a couple of times when you do it, you will understand the things. Okay. So while you do these particular iterations, by the way, you don't need to really spend around, so the steps executing manually again and again. So some automation is there, it will help you. And again, if you are interested to do it manually, it's free. You don't use that. That's it. Simple. But the only thing actually this image is actually going to help you is, okay, so the contract between, the contract between trainer and the contract between trainer and okay, student is easy, by the way. So enablement is easy. And the next one is a contract is nothing but sharing information, right? So something like that. So the next one is some automations are available for you to use it, by the way. Okay. So that is what it is. So that's where I was giving one AMI. So our AMI in the sense like image, like if you are installing your operating system, you require a image, right? So maybe an ISO file, you download an ISO file, you put it in pen drive, or back in days you are keeping in CD, DVD, or installing it, but later something like pen drives and all you are keeping and you are installing it now. So the same kind of an approach as in an image, by the way. In organizations also, will not blindly use the images which is provided by the vendor like Amazon. We'll always customize this. Okay, we'll always customize this particular image as per the business requirements, and we'll always use those particular images. Okay, anyhow, we have a section of how to create an image later. We'll talk about that. But for now, you start the image and you'll be going. So that's where I have chosen EC2 service to create the servers. I'll be going to EC2. And the next one is here, I'll be going to the instances. So in instances, I am going to click on launch instance. So this documentation you will find out in the killer coda, by the way. So if you go to the killer coda link, And if you click on Linux administration topic, so here is a document. So all the document links we are keeping in GitHub. So let's keep here only. Okay, so this is the document. You just click on this and you will go and open this. Now you can directly open this particular link. It will directly take you to the instances section of North Virginia directly. Okay, so and then click on launch instance. And what is the document is telling is the first option you need to choose is type an image called as DevOps-practice. Okay, and over here you're supposed to choose community MI. Okay, so you have RHL 9. Choose that. And after that, the next option that you need to choose here is key pair name. So proceed without a key pair and launch an instance. And you will launch an instance. And you just wait for it to come to the running state. And after that, you're going to choose a public IP address. You are going to take a public IP address of that EC2 instance. And if you're a Windows user, you're going to keep it inside a putty, by the way. Okay. And after that, we are going to enter a username and password, which is also given here again. So EC2-user and the password is DevOps321, capital D, capital O, and then you'll be able to log in. Okay. So that's what it is. There is this. So it came to running state. So probably I can just go and try to connect to that. And if I'm using a Mac OS, by the way, so that's where I will go with, so doing like this, EC2-user at the rate this one. If you're a Mac user, you'll simply follow the approach what I'm doing. As such, open your terminal. You don't need to install any additional software. You simply open your terminal. Okay, so then you start typing the command. Now, SSH is a command that I'm typing in my macOS. macOS is my Unix box. Okay, macOS is a Unix. Okay, so that's where some commands like we talked about, right? So most of the commands of Unix has been, inspired by Linux and using in Linux. This SSH is there from Unix only. I'm typing SSH and getting there. So the protocol also you are using is a SSH protocol. Now to open a URL on the browser, what is the protocol you use? HTTP protocol, isn't it? HTTP or HTTPS protocol you use. SSH is also a protocol, okay, a type of protocol. To connect to the servers, by the way, you require protocol. And the same way you have MSTC or something is there. RDP protocol, what is that? If you are wanted to connect to a Windows, there is a RDP protocol. I think something is there. I don't really remember or something, or it may be RDP protocol. I don't know. Okay, so this is for Microsoft. Okay, remote desktop connection. So for Linux, we'll be using SSH, and I'm just my Mac mode. This is my MacBook, and I'm using a command line to do that. So I'm able to get into the server, and once we are actually inside the server, it does not really matter which operating system you are in. Okay, it does not really matter, by the way. So same thing. Once you are in Linux, you're done. And also in this particular image, it is clearly written a disclaimer, by the way. So the image is designed for a lab purpose, by the way, of learning DevOps, and not recommended at all to use it in production environments or production in any of your company environments. Don't please use this in your companies. Okay, it's only stick to your lab, by the way. All right. So that's it. So this is how you can connect to the servers, and we can start with the administrative topics of Linux. So here I'm going to execute the commands inside my Linux box only, but just the documentation purpose, I'll simply use this killer code. Okay. So let's start. Before to that, any questions on this before proceeding? I usually hear a question, people who come from already learn some AWS training, generally, put a cross question that, so why are you not using key pair? Okay. So if anyone has such question, probably you can raise your hand, or if you don't have any question, that's well and good. No problem. You're starting here. Okay, I see a couple of hands. All right. So let me explain that, by the way. So when you install any operating system, you don't get key pair. Okay. So, or you don't have that key pair. Now you go with any traditional operating system, Linux installation. When you do Linux installation, you get a username password only. We are going with the standard. Basically, we are going with the basic one. Okay. But Amazon has customized it for having a key pair. And after a decade of their setup, by the way, so they even discarded the key pair. Now without key pair only we'll do the things. Okay. So key pair is necessarily not needed. There is a reason for that. And I will provide you a video as well. Why Amazon has came up with a key pair, by the way. Okay. But later operating system, later clouds like Azure and all, they came up with when you actually go with the Azure create virtual machine. Okay, let's say Azure create virtual machine. This guy is actually a little bit modern comparing with Amazon, by the way. So when you actually go here, now these guys directly support the password. Okay, so they'll ask you which option you wanted to use. Exclusively, they will ask you to choose a username, or choose a username with a key pair or a password, by the way. So they'll allow you to write a password. So this is the screenshot. If you see, okay, there is a reason why Amazon is actually, came into that particular purpose. That purpose is very important that you need to understand. Otherwise, when you create a VM, by the way, in Azure, they'll clearly ask you to enter a username and password to, to launch the machine. So this is a more traditional way. This is the right way, actually. When you actually, let's say you take a laptop or desktop also, you install your laptop or desktop. So the first basic thing you log in is with password only. Correct? And maybe later that fingerprint and all came into picture. Something like that. At least my MacBook have that. Windows also, maybe some laptops maybe having it. Otherwise, you're entering username and password, right? Linux is also the same thing, username and password. Now, on top of that, Amazon came up with a layer, by the way. There is a reasons for that. Okay. So that's where, okay, I'll provide you a video. You need to know the history of Amazon in order to understand this. So if you don't have a history, so you blindly, so a lot of people are not telling you the history, by the way. That's a problem. So that's where, you're thinking that, Keeper is the default approach. But Keeper is not the default approach. In organizations, you don't use Keeper. Keeper is a huge risk, by the way. If I were to deal with a production environment, there is no Keepers allowed at all. You would disable the Keepers. Okay. Keys is a very big risk, by the way. You lose a key. Okay. So that means you're done, by the way. Anyone found out your key, they can simply log into your machines, by the way, using that particular keys. Okay. At least password, we have a concept of you go and rotate your password maybe every 1 month. Or passwords can go dynamic passwords also. Now you get a dynamic password as well. You get OTPs. Okay. So you enter OTP and all. This is all possible. Two-factor authentication. Key pairs will not have this. Okay. So there's a very huge security risk in the production environments to use a key pair, which is not a real-time standard at all. But Amazon came up with another reason, is only an entry point, by the way. But they never suggest you to go and, live with that. It's an entry point. Okay. So that's where, so if you have that question, so maybe I'll give a video a little bit later. So you go through that whenever you find some video. Whenever you find some time, you go through that particular video, you will understand this. So step back, by the way, you just understand when you have a laptop and desktop, you log in with a username and password. When you install a Linux operating system, you'll have a username and password. We are also going with username and password. You join an organization, you're going to get a username and password. You log into that server with the username and password only. Keys is an additional work that you do, which is a huge security risk. Like companies where at least I work, by the way, so I will never encourage key pairs. We'll completely disable that. Okay, so even by any chance, we use cloud, but no keys. I mean, day in, day out, I use AWS cloud only, but zero keys in my cloud environment. Okay, we always go with the active directory authentication. All right, so that means you join an organization, you get an email, username, and password. Now that single username and password will be used by any application. Okay, so that means let's say you have a leave application, you want to apply a leave, the same username and password will work. Now you want to check your payslip, the same username and password will work. Okay, you want to check your email, same username and password will work. Now you log into your server, same username password will work. Now tomorrow you are leaving the organization, I disable your account in one place, that's it, everywhere it's gone. So single sign-on is the way that we do the things inside company, by the way. So that's where. So this second extra authentication methods we don't encourage and we don't do as well. So that's how. So please remove your okay. So please remove your mindset made or you're being told that you should use keypad to log into the server, which is not the real-time practice. Okay, please come out of that myth, by the way. If you still have any questions, please go ahead and raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll move on. All right. Taking it as no. The next one is the next one here is okay. So start with the Linux, some administrative topics, not I mean, we're just categorizing, like as I mentioned, for an operating system, it does not really matter. See a hand. Yes, Prashant. You need to unmute and talk.
Sorry, in organization for the AWS, still companies are following that practice of having the EC2 key pairs. Okay, so as I understand, first time it has been okay, but afterwards we need to use the passwords as per the company's policy. So, so you said that it is not a best practice, but still it is being used in AWS environment in specifically. So, is there any way that we can disable every time the key and proceed?
I mean, it's so it's a simple process problem only, right? It's not a technical problem.
Yes,
People are using
yes.
this. People has to make sure it's a people problem. So we
Okay,
can't
okay.
do. So
Because we understood that key is a risk. Every time we need to log in on the server if we don't have a password. Even though ID authentication is there, but by any chance authentication is not happening at client side, then
that
we
is
need.
where automation will help you, right? So you are going to create the servers with automation, and the automation is written as a code, and the code is actually reviewed properly. Like no one will have an access to go and launch a machine directly. It's on the UI, by the way. We don't give that. Okay. UIs are used only for reference purpose. Like read-only access will be generally there. Like no one will be able to add the keys as well. That is fine.
Okay, okay, okay.
And
Thanks.
in 2020 or 21, they have introduced, in the worst case, by the way, if you really want to log into the server, even it is not AD integrated also, now they have introduced an option which is by using EC2 connect direct endpoint as well. So using this, okay, so there is no key pair needed at all. Even this also, you don't require a key pair, but it has to be a public IP. But even though it is a private IP, also there's, I think 2021, if I'm not wrong, 2022 maybe. So they have introduced this particular feature. So now this is I mean, at least from Amazon side, key pair is 0% needed. It's only that users has to make sure.
Okay, okay. But while creating the instance, we need to enable that option or how it is?
No, it comes by default. Just
Okay,
the button comes. It only requires access to do that.
Okay, okay. Thank you.
All right. Going back to the commands part. So we are going to start some commands, which a normal user may not use it. For an example, you're using a Windows operating system. Now, being a Windows user, you may not be knowing every option, but let's say there's an administrator, he knows certain options, right? So like that, by the way, so some commands so far you have used is generally used by a normal user, but now you are not a normal user, by the way. Now your role is actually an engineer. Now that means you are a kind of an administrator onto the systems. So you're going to do some administrator work as well. Okay. So that's where these commands, we're calling it as administration commands, maybe in that context only. But for an operating system, it's just a command. We are categorizing for our purpose, by the way. All right. So in Red Hat family OS, every command that we are executing is going to get a process ID. Okay. So each and every command we execute, we're going to get a process and created, and we're going to get a process ID. Even in Windows also you get that, but not a process ID, but at least a process will be created. So you can just see Windows Task Manager. If you go in, okay, so you will see that the list of process running, by the way, you can see here, you can end the process, you can stop you can terminate the process from here. The same way Linux also, by the way. So now whatever the reason it is, if you wanted to know what are the process running, and in a case you want to stop that particular process, what is the method? Okay, the method is very simple. It's a commands, by the way. So now the commands we are going to learn here is, these are the commands. Okay, so here the process can be fetched from a command line using a PS command. So PS command. PS command is actually showing you the process which is running in that particular system, okay, of that particular session, because Linux is a multi-session, multi-user operating system. That means multiple users can open multiple sessions to the operating system, that Linux box. Maybe let's say Windows, if you compare, Windows is a multi-user single session operating system. Windows also multi-users can log in, but at the same time, a single session can be maintained because it's a UI, right? You can't have multiple sessions. So that's where Linux is a multi-user, multi-session operating system, and this command is also something like that. So now PS command will show you the process which is belong to this user which you logged in and to this particular session only. If you want to know all the process of that particular user, then ps-u. So it is still showing you, so the same 2 number only. Okay, here I executed a PS command, that also one process. Otherwise, some command is running. So this shell, we call it up. What is shell and all we'll see later. But wherever the place that you are executing a command is called as a shell, and that software is called as shell. The command line software that accepts your inputs, okay, from the user, okay, is actually called as a shell software. And so here it's again showing the same thing only. Now let's say if I open a new window and if I log into the same server once again, so that means like I connect to the server. In your case also, if you want to open another session to the server, by the way, you open the putty.exe file one more time, it will open a new window. Okay, now I logged in. Now I can just go and give ps-u, by the way. Now it is going to show you more. PS is still showing you to the same thing, but whereas ps-u show more. Now PS will show you the process belongs to this user of this terminal only, but whereas ps-u is actually showing you all the process. It is going to show you all the process belongs to that particular user. Okay, so that's how it is. Now, if you want to know all the users, all the process of the operating system, then ps-e, you can use every process. ps-e, you will see every process in the system, and every process have one ID that is called as process ID. This is called as PID. Okay. Now, option -e shows along with process ID and process name. But in case if you need more information, so we can also combine that with ps-e-f. Okay, you will see a bit more columns, by the way. All right, now maybe it is bombarding with a lot of output. So maybe in case you wanted to just find out certain process, so you know pipe symbol. Now grep you know already. So for an example, if I want to search for SSH, I'll search for SSH. Maybe why I log into the servers, because I run application. If I want to check my application is running or not, ps-ef, grep for application name, you will come to know. Now SSH is also one application end of the day. It's a software. Okay, so you can see that that software is running. So the same way, maybe your software is Java software, ps-ef grep for Java. You will see the Java process is running. If it is a Node.js, ps-ef grep for Node.js, or if it's a Python application, ps-ef grep for Python. So whatever is the name of the application, by the way, you search for that, and you will come to know whether it is running or not. Okay, so this is how you're going to see the process information. But if you really look at the verticals, by the way, so what all these different columns? One is who is the user running that process. Okay. And the next is what is the process ID. And every process ID is going to be started by some parent process, by the way. So that means some process will create another process. So there is a parent-child relation. Okay. In the operating system, it's all chain, by the way. Okay. So this process has been started by this process. So this is a parent process. All right. So that's what you have it. And the next one is actually showing you what is this? I don't remember. There's a column is telling C, by the way. What is C means? I forgot. All right. So here let's go and view ps-ef fields. Then C stands for CPU utilization, by the way. CPU utilization of the process of the kernel thread. Okay. So CPU utilization is showing you. S time is basically is at what time it has started. Okay. So TTY is, it belongs to which terminal, by the way. Some of the process does not have any terminal, question mark. That means those are just OS process which is running in the background. But some of them are TTY, PTS0, PTS1, which is the terminals I opened. Okay, sessions which I opened is actually each session is going to have one session, by the way. This is a session name. And after that, how much time this process has been, really compute time it is using. And after that, you will be having what is the process path. These guys are not using any compute time. In fact, they're just simply sitting and idle because your operating system, we're not doing much. But if I'm not wrong, that is that is the time field. What is that? Yes, time. The total runtime of the process, this time is displayed in the format of this. Okay, if it reaches 100 minutes, so which will show in a different format. Okay, fine. That's okay. It is showing some runtime, like I mentioned, compute. If it is really using something only, it will show you something it is showing. All right. So that is how you're going to see these particular fields. And finally, the last one is the process name. We are majorly interested all the time is who is the owner, what is the process ID, and okay, what is the command, by the way. So rest of the options, optionally, you can refer to use it. Okay, like I mentioned, so every process is going to have a parent. 1450 goes to 1309, and 1309 is started by 1308, and 1308 is started by 1297, and 1297 is started by 1243, and 1243 is started by 1. So it ended there. So 1 is the ultimate. So that means when you start an operating system, there are two processes which is going to start. Okay, so process number 1 and process number 2. So this is the first two process which is started by operating system when you start the operating system. Process number 1 and process number 2. Now all the user related process, okay, will go for a process number as ends up with the process number 1, or all the software related to the operating system will be started by process number 1. But there is something called as Linux. We already talked about what is Linux. Linux is the software that is actually breaking the, so software and hardware layer, right? So then that piece of software is called as kernel, also called as Linux. Linux is not an operating system. Linux is a piece of code that runs the software and hardware. Now that piece of software, okay, is also going to, okay, come in the operating system, and that one. Okay, so that guy is actually process number 2. He starts number 2. Now you can't manage any process who is actually ending with 2. You can't manage them. Even you're an administrator, you can't manage them. Okay, so you won't have privilege on that. Only the process ending up with 1 only you can manage. Manage in the sense, now next option here is, so we so far listed the process. The next one we're talking about here is how to kill the process. So that means remove the process. Okay, so for an example, okay, so if I'm running a process 300, for an example, I'm going to use some command. So let's say let it run for commands for some time. So sleep 300. Okay, so now I can go and give ps-f 5 grep for sleep. Okay, so now this is a process. All right. Now, if I want to stop this particular process, so now I'm going to give kill this particular process. Now, what happened? Now, ps-f grep for sleep, that's no more. And even on the shell also here, it is actually terminating. So sleep is doing something. Let's not bother about that. One command is running. Okay, you're not getting the terminal back again. So it is continuously running. You're not getting the terminal back. That means command is still running on, going on. Okay, for an example, it may be a database going on. Okay, so it is showing you like this, by the way, if you want to stop it. So this is how you stop it. But sometimes, by the way, so you will find out the scenarios that the process are not getting terminated also. Okay, so let's enable that scenario. Don't bother about this, just a simulation purpose. Now, ps-ef 5 grep for sleep. Now you have this one. So now if I go and you kill this guy, so now you go for sleep, the process is still there. So I find out that particular process. The process number is 1484. I kill the process 1484, and 1484 is still there. It didn't got killed. Now, why it didn't got killed? Maybe it could be any reason. It is a hung process. Maybe it was completely hung, right? Or it is busy doing that, something that, you asked to come out, you asked to kill itself. Okay, it accepted, but however, it is busily doing something, especially the databases and all. When you try to stop the databases, they'll ensure that, the reconcile of all the data is proper. Then only the process will come out. Even the stopping of the databases takes time. Okay, so because it has to properly save the state and come out, right? So it may take time. So if any reason, if it is taking time and you're really sure that you want to end the process, if you're really sure that you want to end the process, so then you can use a forceful option, kill -9. Okay, so then okay, now you give the process -9 is a very forceful option you're sending. Unless until you are sure that you can end the process, don't end such process in a forceful way. Now ps-grep for sleep, it's gone. Okay, so this is how you can use a ps command to list the process, and sometimes you need to organize the process. By the way, you're going to kill the process by using a kill command. All right, so this is how um, you can do the process management. ps command and kill command are the two commands and their options. Any questions on this? Any questions or confusions? Cool. So the next one, which is going to be is how do we, okay, I mean, how do you do some additional operation work which you can't do, by the way, or basically like you're actually going to kill some process, for an example, ps-ef pipe grep for SSH, for an example. Now let's say I wanted to kill some process. So for an example, here is some process. I wanted to kill this process because this process is exclusively owned by so this process is exclusively owned by a root user. Okay, I wanted to kill this particular process. So far, if you have observed, I have killed the process. Okay, so I have killed the process by using or basically I killed the process by using kill command, but the process which I killed is the process which I created. That means EC2-user I logged in, and the process which I created is mapped to my username, and I am just killing that particular process. Now, okay, so now if I try to kill this particular process, okay, I am not able to do that. Okay, so because the process which I am not actually the owner of that particular process. So that's where we need to talk about something called as privilege escalation or privileged usage of the commands, by the way. Or privilege escalation is what's generally is a general terminology, by the way. Okay, now in order to do that, you need to log in as a root user. Okay, if you're a root user, then you can do that. But in the companies, even though we know the root password, we may or may not know the root password, but that's a different story. But let's say if I know the root password, but we might not log into the root user directly. Okay, because everything you do in the operating system will be tracked, and even the root logins will be disabled also on the system. So that's where you will not really log in with the root. You'll not be able to log into the root user. But usually that root user is root user is used for only for during maintenances and things like that. That means like, root user login, root user password will be used if the system goes down and it needs to be some recovery mode and all. So then that times makes sense. But otherwise it does not make sense. Now we always log in as a normal root user. We always log in as a normal root user. Normal user. We always log into the system with my username and password only. Okay. Now assume EC2 user your name is your name of the username in the organization. Okay. So just they have given you or you have set the password somewhere and you're logging with that particular password. That's it. We'll always log into the systems with that username and password. But from there, I'm already doing that. I'm logging at EC2 user, but I can't perform the operations. I'm an administrator of the system. Okay, I'm the owner of the system, and I wanted to perform some activity, but I couldn't able to do that. Okay, because I logged in as a normal user. Now there is a gap, by the way. What is the gap? I should be logging as a root user to perform the work, but I should not log in as a root user. Now I always need to log in as a normal user, but if I log in, I can't perform the root work. Now there's a chicken egg problem kind of a thing, right? So there's a gap, by the way. And this gap is actually solving by the privilege escalation tool. And the well-known privilege escalation tool is sudo, by the way. Okay. The well-known privilege escalation tool that comes within the OS by default is sudo. And maybe in the enterprise world, especially the financial organizations where a login also matters, they go with even further tools called as Power Broker, Centrify. Okay. So these tools are also will be used alternatively to sudo, okay, to gain a control of what the permission need to be provided for a particular user, more fine-grained rules to be provided to a particular user. So these third-party paid tools will help you. Otherwise, sudo is the default one. Okay, now when you generally join the organization, usually, okay, you're managing a machine, you usually be a part of some groups, and those groups will be provided with some sort of admin access. So that means you log in, you should be able to perform the admin access. But how do you perform that? Okay, so by using sudo, by the way, if the sudo is already there for you in that particular system, then how do you start using it? You simply go with the sudo and kill command and that particular, now the process ID. So for an example, now normal sudo, I can't do that. Normal kill, I can't do that. Now sudo kill, if I do that, now I did not got any error. And also ps-ef, that 1386 is gone. You don't see that anymore. Okay, so you'll be having some sort of access, okay, as a group. By the way, you'll not get individual access in the organizations. You're going to get for a groups only. For the groups, so there will be some access um, that is provided, and using that particular access, you always log in. So how to configure and all, it's not our area of interest at this point of time. But if you are really interested, also you'll find out enough videos how to configure sudo in internet. You'll find it out. Or even I already made an article. If you are interested how to add the privileges locally on a one server, so there is a document which is given here. You can just read it out. That's fine. But that's not our area of interest, by the way. So our area of interest is start using that particular machine. I want to host my application. Okay, I should have an access. And I'll be mostly 99% you will be having the access, or maybe like more than 90% you'll be having an access. But sometimes in certain organizations, by the way, I mean, even though you are a DevOps engineer, you may not have access on the system to perform certain things. Maybe there is another person who is sitting for that particular purpose. You will ask that particular person to do that job. That's it. Okay. So that's how it is going to be. Now in this machine, whatever you are logging in, just assume you are a DevOps engineer, you are logging into the system and you have access to configure that particular system. Just imagine it that in the organization, you open a server with your credentials, your username is EC2-user. Maybe in the organization, they'll give you some username. Let's say my name is Raghu, they'll give you a username called as Raghu. I will log in with that particular server with Raghu and my password. Maybe here, just the lab purpose, we are giving EC2-user and password, some password. Okay, so in the organization, you have your own username and password. And after login, I'm part of a DevOps group, then I'll be ultimately getting, okay, so some sort of access. So usually if you give ID enter, you will see that, you're part of some groups, by the way. Okay, so you'll be part of some groups. And you will see all those groups. Anyhow, here I'm not part of much groups, so that's okay. So for an example, I'm in my laptop, by the way. So in my laptop ID, okay. So in my laptop ID, by the way, so this is my username. Okay, this is my company authentication again. Okay, this is a company authentication. Okay, I'm part of admin group actually. So since I'm part of admin group, I can install my own software. If I'm not part of that group, actually I can't deal with this. Okay. So I'm part of multiple groups again. If you see, I'm part of LP admin, that means printers. I can add printers in my system. I can access my SharePoint of the company SharePoint. Okay. So there are other things. Okay. I can access some developer related tools, by the way. Okay. So I can access the screen sharing. That means like screen sharing privileges I have. Okay. So something is there. Okay. So assume that you have access to do that and you're doing. All right, so this is how we are going to so deal with sudo, and you can perform the admin activities, by the way. Does it sound clear? Any questions? Okay. I don't see any more hand or any hands. All right. So the next is package management, which is a very important thing as a part of your role, by the way. You install softwares. Okay. And that software is maybe in the OS terminology in Linux, we're calling it as packages, package management. Okay. So the management is a key admin activity that most of the time as a DevOps guy, we are going to deal with. We need to install or update the packages all the time. Okay, you log into a server, maybe that you need to do this job. Like I mentioned, so everything goes as an automation, by the way. Okay, but still, I mean, automation also runs some commands, by the way, end of the day. So you should know about how do you install packages, how do you delete packages, how do you manage packages, how do you find packages, okay, things like that. So in Red Hat OS, by the way, it's family, I mean, basically like we're not using CentOS anymore. So in Red Hat OS, by the way, they use RPM, Red Hat Package Manager. In one second. Sorry, guys. Yeah, in Red Hat OS, so we are going to install something called as RPMs. RPM stand for Red Hat Package Manager. Okay, later renamed as RPM Package Manager. So that's where it's same like, .msi file in Windows, MSI for Microsoft installer. Okay, exe is a third party. Exe files are third party, but whereas because exe can run even in Windows, even in other operating systems also, exe supports. Okay, so that's where natively, if you talk about .msi is the one that Windows installer is, by the way. The same way, like, so Red Hat OS, by the way, it is .rpms. Okay, so we call it as RPM. You'll see the package names as .rpm and all. The next one is, now let's say, okay, if you want to find out the list of packages which are installed on your system, so then the command which you have is a DNF command, or the command that we are going to manage here is by using DNF command. Now, there is a history, by the way, about the package management. So since I have some time, let me explain that if people are not asking questions. So I have more time now. So it all started with RPM command. So now back in days, by the way, so when we are managing an operating system, so RPM. One second. Yeah. So it was an RPM, by the way. So the package is RPM. Our package is always RPM, in fact. And but however, we are managing that with an RPM command. Now RPM command has certain problems, by the way. So what are the problems that RPM command used to have? Okay. So, I mean, at least if I would consider the versions, by the way, I was a user of RHEL from 2 version only. Okay. Before to that, I was not sure. I didn't work with before operating system. So RHEL 2 was there, RHEL 3 was there, RHEL 4 was there, and 4.1 was there, 4.2 was there, and so on till 4.7 was there. Okay, until 4.7, RHL2, RHL3, RHL4, 4.1, 4.2, 4.3, like that, until 4.7. So there is, I mean, the RPM has been the only command that we were supposed to install a package. Okay, but in 4.8, by the way, okay, they introduced a new feature, okay, a new command, by the way, it is called as YUM. LODOG updated modifier, which is a third party, and they adopted into the operating system, and RHEL 4.8 to whatever the last version or whatever it is, and after that RHEL 5 it came in, RHEL 6 it came, same thing, RHEL 7 also it was running with YUM only. But later again, they introduced another one, which is called as DNF. In DNF, what they're actually doing is you have it in RHEL 8 and RHEL 9, you will find out the DNF command. Now, why the reason that, so they need to come up with these particular, different installers in the very first place? Because of the industry maturity, by the way, right? Industry is maturing, isn't it? So requirements are maturing. Okay, so the OS has to support to the requirements. Now, what is the problem that I used to have it in RPM? Okay, no dependency installation. Okay, no dependency installation. Okay, that means if I want to install a package, it is dependent on 10 packages. I have to go and install those 10 packages. Now, then those 10 packages are dependent on 10 other different packages. To install one package, I end up going with 100 different packages installing manually. Okay, so this is how it is going to be. All right, very big challenge. Okay, so to install a simple web server also, we used to take weeks of time to find out the dependencies. Seriously. Okay, when we started the careers, there was no yum command and all. So okay, to install a simple web server, my task is to, okay, as an engineer, by the way, we were setting up some web application. To install a simple web server, we used to take weeks of time. Maybe I was just fresher at that time, and I also don't have much maturity. That's fine, but it used to take time. Even for an experienced person, also like, hours of time they had to spend out what is the dependency, get that dependency, and all this particular pain is there. Okay, but they have solved that particular problem. Okay, you install the package. Okay, you install the package. You install a particular package, then you're going to install all the dependencies as well. Okay, all the dependencies also will get installed by the way with the YUM, which was a happy job. Okay, so this is one problem, and this is another problem is no remote support. Okay, that means like, the packages always has to be there in the system or accessible to the system somewhere. Okay, in order to install them. Okay, so that is the one. So then package dependencies is solved, by the way, here. Solved. Along with that, okay, remote package repositories introduced. Repository means you're keeping all the places in all the software in one place. It's a repository. It's a package repository. Okay. Now this is solving the problem. Now this again was not solving all the problems. I mean, this ran for a long time again. So it has a decade history of young. Now after that, so they again solve the problem. Okay, the dependencies solved. Okay, so dependency solved only for installation, by the way, not for uninstall. Only for install. They are in. I mean, so packages dependencies solved only for installation purpose, but not for uninstall purpose. That means now let's say you install one package, it installed 100 packages. Okay, when you remove this package and it is not removing those 100 packages. Okay, so that was a problem. That was not solved that time. So then the dependency solved for removal of package also. The dependency was solved for removal of package as well. Okay, so this is what you have. And additionally, what is the next one they have supported is module support. Started module. Okay. Now let's say if I wanted to, so today's world, by the way, a single operating system, I wanted to run two different applications. One is running with Java 20 version, one is running with Java 16 version or 17 version, let's say, as an example, any version, that's okay. Now I wanted to run two different versions of a software, multi-version of software. Now earlier you can install only one version of software. Okay, but you can't install you can't install multiple version of software. This guy is actually started giving the modules. They're giving a support of multiple versions as well. You can install. Okay, so you can choose whichever the version you wanted to install. Earlier it was always one version it point to. Now you can point to multiple versions also. So that's where this module also has been introduced. So DNF is the latest one, and we are using the DNF, by the way, in the RHL 9 while we are learning. Okay, so RPM and YUM commands are the bit old days, by the way. Still, those commands are also there in RHL 9 as well, but still we go and use a DNF. Okay, so what DNF stands for? So DNF stands for Dandified Yum. Okay, Dandified Yum. Okay, I don't know what is Dandified. Let's see. Okay, some excessive. All right, makes sense. So DNF. Now, if I want to list the packages, so sudo DNF list installed. Then it's going to show you the list of packages which are installed on your system, by the way. So it is showing you, so the column one, the package it got installed, what is the package which is installed, its version, and the third column is where it got installed from. Okay. Now the packages which are available for install. Okay. So sudo DNF list available. So this is going to show you the packages which are available for install in the operating system. You can see this. So many are coming. If you want to count each line is a package, word count -l. So you'll get still see thousands only. So 28,000 packages are there for you to available to install in your system, which you may not need it. That's what I was talking, right? Linux is a very vast system. You don't need to deal with everything which is there in Linux, right? Every software you end up, by the way, your lifetime is also not enough for Linux. So we don't bother. So we need necessarily what we wanted to go with, right? So that's where, so these many packages are available for install. Now, for an example, if I want to list both the available and as well as installed, you simply go with the DNF list. DNF list will show you the packages which are installed plus available for install as well. And now you can just find out certain information. So for an example, I will be choosing like, let's say NGINX, some software name, NGINX. If I go for and search for NGINX, it is showing us whether NGINX is installed on the system or not. Now, if you see this, by the way, so Nginx word is coming in. Now, I don't see it is installed. How can I confirm that it is not installed? Let me show you a package name which is already installed. For an example, unzip is some package. Unzip may be already installed. Now you can see this. This is an installed package and these are not installed package. Now, how can I say that this is installed and this is not installed? How can I say that? The third column will help you. The third column will help you if it is having a @ symbol at the starting, then it is installed. For an example, I go with OpenSSH, some package name, that's okay. Now you'll find out some packages with the same @. That means these three are installed and these are available for install, which are not installed. The third column will help you. Okay. If you want to list down the packages and it's at the same time you want to search it, and also at the same time you wanted to know whether it is installed or not, so DNF list and grep for a package name and @ symbol will help you here. All right. Now, if you want to install a package, you need to know the package name. So sudo DNF install nginx. Nginx is one software, that's okay. Now you can see this Nginx is installing its dependencies, by the way. Okay. So DNF install Nginx. Now let's say remove Nginx if I give. It is going to remove its dependencies also. But YUM command in the back operating systems, it it doesn't used to use this way or deal this way. So you install Nginx, it install the dependencies. When you remove the Nginx, okay, so it will remove only Nginx package. So in order to try it out, maybe you need to go to RHEL or basically like, what do we say? 7 operating system. Shall we try that? Let me try that. don't worry about what is the command I'm running. I'll execute a yum command, and from there, you understand it. I'm just trying to simulate the scenario. Okay. So now I will go for yum install. This is that operating system. So DNF not there. So it's going to be, or even let's find out what is operating system. cat/etc star release. If I give CentOS 7, it is coming. Okay. So CentOS is a copy of Red Hat, so which is RHEL 7, and even you'll find out RHEL. You see this? It's a copied one. Now the next one is yum install. You see it is there. It's already there. Okay. So the next one I'm going to install is the same Nginx software we are going to do. So yum install Nginx. Now you see that it is installing the dependencies. So Y enter. Now, sorry, yum space remove Nginx. You see this, it is removing only Nginx. Where is the dependencies? It installed these many dependencies, by the way. But those dependencies, it is not bothering at all. Okay, it is thinking not of removing them. Okay, so now this where actually, so it's a big challenge, by the way, because even though I'm removing the software, it's not removing at the core. Okay, so those are still relying and lying out there. And this is the big problem, by the way. Okay, over a period of time, this becomes a problem. And Red Hat addressed this after a very long time. Okay, so that's what I was telling, right? So it just only dependency solved at the time of installation part, but at the time of removal part, they did not get that. Okay, so this is how, it is there. Now going back. So this is how you install the package in an operating system by using this one. DNF install, DNF remove to remove it. Now, when you actually try to install and remove, I'm giving -y option. Okay, y-y. So if I just try to run this, it will stop in between and ask for yes or no. I'm pressing no, by the way. So now if I give -y, it won't ask me in between. It will just proceed and runs it. Okay, so this is how you can do that. Now, sometimes you can find out, so you can find out an update of a package. You can go and update the package by using sudo dnf update nginx-y. So you will install any update if it comes in, or else if you simply give dnf update, it will do the updates for all the things, or all the packages. It is going to do the update. So that's how we are going to install the package, remove the package. Now, there's an important question that comes into picture. What is that question is, where is this packages? Now, let's say if you try to install Nginx, it is trying to tell that, it is downloading the packages. Now, where is it downloading from? Okay. So where is this particular one downloading it from? It's downloading it from somewhere from the internet, by the way. or somewhere in the intranet. Now, if I wanted to, if I wanted to go and find out, or if I wanted to, for an example, let's do this way. So yum install, there is a famous software called as Jenkins. Okay. So now if I try to install Jenkins, it will say that, the Jenkins package does not exist at all. So there is no package name called as Jenkins. Unable to find a package named Jenkins, unable to find a match. All right. So this is how, this is how, let's say, by the way, now it is not able to install, but Jenkins is a well-known software. Now, if you wonder, by the way, how it was able to install Nginx and how it is not able to install Jenkins, by the way, so that you need to understand that, so there are certain there are certain URLs which is configured in the system in the location of etcm.repos.d. This is the location. Do ls. You have some locations here. So now let's say epl.repo file. If I hit enter, so now you can see this, some of the packages is coming from, this is the URL where the package can be installed. This is what it is mentioned, by the way. Now let's say if I wanted to go with the Jenkins also, so the jenkins.io webpage, if I go in, if I want to install the Jenkins, I go to the documentation. Okay, so then I will be going, not documentation install, by the way. I wanted to go with the download, just click on download, by the way, and you will find out RHL family. You click on that. So then you will find out they will be offering a repo file, by the way. So they're offering one repo file. Now you open the browser, you see that this is a file. And you need to do is, what you need to do is a sudo vim or vi, sudo vi jenkins.repo file. If you configure, okay, so I'll paste this. So now sudo dnf install Jenkins. So then it will saying that, okay, I will download and install now. So, okay, I'm pressing no, by the way, that's okay. But you can see that it is actually now all the location of where it can go and download the packages is basically is configured here. Now you try to install different vendor softwares and they will just offer the URLs. For an example, MongoDB databases, MongoDB. Okay, so install. If you just go to the MongoDB documentation and you go to the whatever the version, by the way, so they're asking which version, enterprise edition or basically community edition of MongoDB. Now what they will tell you, you configure this repo file. You are actually using RHL 9, you configure this repo file. RHL 8, configure this. RHL 7, you configure this. They are giving for multiple versions. You configure this repo is what you are telling. All right. So that means the packages are coming from in this particular location. Now you are downloading it from internet, or it may be some intranet also. In big organizations, they'll keep the packages, such packages somewhere in some repository, company's repository, and from there we can download and install it. So instead of URL of internet, you'll get a URL of intranet. Okay, so this is how you can go with okay, installing a package. And so if the package is not there, you go to the vendor and find the vendor documentation that, so how to install that particular software and add some repo files. That file name has to be .repo and has to be in this location. Then the DNF command will detect it and it will start allowing you to use it. And sometimes, like, by the way, they don't offer repos also, they'll directly offer RPM. For an example, now you can go with this approach also. Sudo DNF install, and they go with certain RPM. You directly give this, it will download the direct RPM and install it as well. So this is also possible. So for an example, I copy this, give this. Now it will go and download that particular RPM, and it is going to install that even without a repo also. Okay, so it is telling something is not digest. That's okay. So So I have, that is causing that problem, I feel. Or maybe, let's see. For this, actually, you need to do something more in the documentation, they'll tell you. So your package needs some cross validation, okay, security. So they are telling you to do this. Then it will work. So they're offering some sort of a cross check, by the way. So DNF is doing some sort of a cross check. So I don't know. I'm using it. Does not no digest. Does not verify. No digest. Maybe this is not supported for this. Okay, you use no digest option. All right, that's fine. Anyhow, okay. So that's not our interest, but this is what it is. You can do that. So RPM command has an option, is what it is telling you. Download the file and use RPM command with some no digest option. So, and what is digest and all, I don't want to get onto that internals. Something else is there. So for some sort of purpose of some security or something, it's natively doing something. That's okay. Yeah. So that's what it is. And this is all about the package management. So just to conclude, by the way, so what are the different options that you learned in DNF? So DNF list, so DNF install. Maybe removing it may not really fall under all the time, by the way. So if you have DNF remove, at least DNF list and DNF install is fine. And also adding repo file is also something that we generally do. So this is about the package management. Any questions? I see one question on the chart. How do you install a certain version of a package? Yeah, so let's find out. Install specific version of package. DNF. Okay, get the answer. So now what it is telling is, first of all, when you actually go and try to install this one, so you just list something with some option called as show duplicates. First of all, you need to find out whether there are multiple versions are there. For an example, which we go with is NGINX. We try to install, by the way. So let's see if this guy is able to have, or is having multiple versions. The package should have a multiple version in, first of all, to support it. Something else is happening. Sudo is missing. You can see these multiple versions are there. Now, what are the multiple versions? 1.14 is there, 1.14 is there, 1.13 is there, 1.10 is there. Now you want to install a particular version. So then what the documentation is telling, so how do you install? So you give the full name. So that means Python, this one. So that means sudo dnf install. Okay. So maybe nginx, by the way. And after that, it is telling hyphen of something. So hyphen. So here also, if you observe, by the way, he's using Python 3 arg64, something like that. So then he's removing it. So then he's giving Python 3 only until here. Dot this one is removing. This is an architecture, by the way. And hyphen the version number. Okay. So hyphen the version number. That means hyphen. What is the version number? For an example, if I want to install, this is the version number. Or no, not this is not the version number. So here actually 20.20-1 of something. So this is a full version. Okay. And install. So it is telling it is not found. Maybe one dot is missing. Sorry. 1.20. Okay. After colon, whatever you have it here. So it is causing some sort of a dependencies problem. So it is telling that it is already conflicting with another version, which is already installed. So sudo DNF remove Nginx. So old version is removed. Now you install this one. It should be able to install this. That's it. So this is how you can do it. Yeah. So even that's all from my side for today. Any questions, please go ahead.
Hi, Raghu.
Yeah.
Just now in the same example, DNF should support the multi versions, no?
DNF is supporting not the multi version in this way. There is something called as we will come to this later, by the way, when we run the project. There is something called as module list. So in this manner, it is going to show you. Now Nginx, that is 1.20 only, you see in multiple versions, but that's not a multi version. That's a multi subversion. But there's a multi versions which you have is 1.22, 1.24. And this is what the support modules.
Okay. And if we download the multi
Okay,
versions,
so I hear your question. Actually, maybe I told in a way it caused confusion. Sorry for that. Let me rephrase my things, by the way. So now, back in days, by the way, it doesn't support a multi version of packages also. It used to show only one version of package. Now it is showing 1.20, it shows 1.20 only. It can't show other versions, by the way. I mean, you can't install multi versions, by the way, but it will give you support of installing multi versions. So meaning, by the way, so 1.20 is there, 1.22 is there, 1.24 is there. So now you can choose which version you want to install. But back in days, that support was not there. It was always only one version. It was in that context.
okay.
Yeah.
You mean to say that it will show us what are the versions? Among that, we
Correct.
can install only one version.
Yeah. Earlier, it used to show only one version. Now let's say Node.js 18, Node.js 20. Now earlier it used to show only one version. Now I don't have a choice of going with another version unless until I had to remove the repo files of which is 18 is causing. I had to bring in the repo files
Okay.
of 20 and I can only install 20. But now that multi-version choosing is possible. Not install, choosing is possible.
So at the end, we can install only one version,
Only one.
but
Yeah.
it will show us the multi versions. What are the versions available
Correct.
for that project? I mean, for the package.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Hello.
Yeah.
Yes, so Raghu, my query is related to this package management, especially for the upstream Rui packages.
Yeah.
But currently, one of my scenario where I'm doing some testings, so I'm stuck, from last 1 week. So I would like to take the opportunity to discuss, since we are discussing on upstream, packages management part.
Yeah.
But
So
I will just
lab session which is given. Can you utilize that time, by the way? Now the time is not that much, and also you can't share your screen. So there's a lab session given in these timings. So join there. Probably we can see your screen and help you in better way. Or is it just a straightforward question you can ask?
Yes. I was about to,
Okay.
told that I will maybe contact one-on-one. Okay.
Yeah.
But just wanted to give you the overview. Currently, actually, I'm getting, the timeout, 28,000 error when I'm trying to connect to the reports. Okay.
We'll see.
So,
When you share the screen, it will be easier to solve it as well.
okay.
Yeah. So join today. Maybe you'll find a person. So ask him to pull me. He will pull into the call. We'll take a look.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hi, Raghu. So, what exactly is this lab session? Can you explain again?
Lab session is a place where if you have any questions, now let's say during the session, you will not have any questions, by the way. Maybe first week, maybe you are feeling like, you're too much energetic. People are asking the questions. Going to forward, by the way, second week, third week, you'll not have any questions because everything you're hearing is a new thing, right? So that's where live sessions will not have any questions. You'll be there. He'll be listening, but however, when you start practicing, you'll start getting the questions, because that's where you start putting the logic. The brain comes with the logic questions, right? So that's where that time, by the way, so we need to address those questions as well. So this lab session window will help you in, you can ask those questions. Plus, I mean, while you're doing the practice, you'll stuck somewhere sometimes. You can come there and share your screen and solve your problem.
Understood. Understood. Okay. Thank you.
Anyone? Any other questions? So once you're done with the work, by the way, so I don't need this machine anymore. I will terminate this machine. So because tomorrow I'll create a new machine, because I'm not really needed this. When the machines are really needed, we'll stop the machine. Okay, we'll do that. But until I confirm you to stop the machines, you please terminate the machines. You'll not lose anything. This is a very simple machine. You're using it for practice. Okay. So stopping the machine also, the charges will be applied. So that's where terminate them as much as possible. Okay. So yeah, I terminated the machine. Any other questions?
Yes, Raghu, Suhas again.
Yeah.
This machine, I can see that what you launched, it was size of 10 GB, but when we are launching, it is asking 30 GB and GP3. So is it okay to launch on daily basis with 10 GB, minimum 10 GB and SS GP3?
Yeah,
by
these
default, it is
machines
giving
are
it.
coming with some sort of a standards, by the way. So those standards and all will come, and when we actually talk about security and all. So there is a CA. This is the image which we are using is, I'm not sure you heard about a word called as CIS benchmarking. Okay. So the image which we are using is a CIS benchmarked for security way.
Okay.
So for doing the CIS benchmarking, so we do require those extra sizing for partitioning and all. Okay, that's the reason. Yeah.
Okay.
Whereas
So,
if you use the default OS of, like, let's say Amazon Linux directly their OS, you will not get all these standards in general, right? So that's where you can even run for 5 GB also, that machines, but we can't run for less.
So it's okay to keep default as per the customized image, right? 30 GB and as GP3, right?
It's coming 30, yeah. I didn't know it was 30.
No, I noticed 30. That's why I asked.
Okay. There is a chance also for that. Let me really remember. Did I increase that also? Let me quickly check. It is not 30 GB if I'm not wrong. It should be 20 or 25 something. Here, if I see it as the storage of this instance, this is 35 anyhow. It's the increased one. By default, it is 20. Let's check. Okay, that's okay. Whatever it is default, let it come. Maybe it released a new version. This may be the old one. If I just go down and view. Please. It's coming 20 only default. It's not 30.
Okay. Okay, fine. Yeah. So we will stick on, default.
Yeah. Anyhow, defaults are not needed. You have seen one mission I have went to 35 also. Because we do big project, we require more. By the way, can't stuck with Simple.
Yes, but yeah, okay. But 30 GB comes into the free tier. What
Oh, no
we
free
see
tier
in
now.
notice.
We are never free tier.
Warning.
I never told you will be in free tier. You can't run
No, no,
big
it
projects
was
in
the
free.
warning there when
That's
it
okay.
was
You will not
launching.
save
Yeah.
anything. Forget about it.
Yeah.
Whatever Amazon gives is a peanuts only. Forget about that. Not even tea cost also it will provide you. So don't worry. It's going to be a paid one. Make your mind that way. It's going to be paid. You have to pay. It's going to be a big project.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions? All right then. So let's meet in tomorrow and we'll continue with the next topics of administration, by the way. All right. So see you then. Bye. Good day. Good night.